Okay, we're going live now here. So, rise of industrialization and city life during the Gilded Age. Playing a little Ben sounds here. We use them a lot. I do the video club too. And he's got a whole bunch of little royalty-free music. How's it going, Omar? I see Omar and Angelina and Bailey, and I'm sure many other people here. And hello, everyone. And so this is the first APUSH stream in quite a while. So hello, Ashley. This is the first one here. So I hope this is really interactive. If you take a look there, I have put in some polls in there and ask a little question as well. So if you can take a look at that when you get a chance, like you to do that too, because it's kind of an overall thought here. So the rise of industrialization and city life during the Gilded Age. Okay, so that's what we are. Okay, Omar says he's voting for the Chiefs. Okay, good call, probably. So the rise of industrialization and city life during the Gilded Age. All right, so we have a lot going on in this one. This is full. And I want to make sure that it is interactive, so I want to hear from you. I bet most of you are finishing up period 6. Is that correct? Give me a little thumbs up here. My class is about chapter 26 in the American pageant. Yeah, we're getting there. And hopefully, we'll be done in the next couple weeks there. Okay, good. All right, so a lot of these things we're going to be talking about. I'm from outside of Chicago, and we'll be taking a look at a lot of Chicago stuff in here too. I also teach a class called History of Chicago on occasion, and a lot of the industrialization kind of involves a lot of our big cities here. So we'll be taking a look at a lot of these things here as we're going here. You're taking your period 6, okay, on Monday. All right, good. Well, hopefully this will help you a lot for it. Okay, so good to see everybody here. So excellent. So I am Mr. DiFilippo there. So and I can be found on Twitter at @DiFilippoAPush here. And we're going to be taking a look at a lot of stuff here. In terms of Fiveable here, we're all over the place here in terms of social media. We are on Twitter. And I'm on Twitter. I try to do a lot with Twitter there. We're on YouTube. We are on Instagram, you name it there. So Fiveable, @Fiveable. Make sure that you're checking out. The company has changed a lot, done a lot of things, have a lot of additions to it, more content orientated, sorry. And so we're doing a lot of content, but we're also doing streams like this as well. Okay, so just kind of wanted to go over some of those things here. And then what is Fiveable? If you haven't been on here before, Fiveable likes to think of itself as the Twitch of education. If you think about it, right, you have a video game, you're stuck at a certain place or whatever. You go on Twitch, you see how people can do it. All right, thanks, Omar. Omar wants to be a computer programmer someday, wants to create games and things. So on Twitch there, when you're on there, you get to find out how people do things. You're stuck on a game, things like that. I'm not a big gamer. When I was younger, I played probably a lot more video games than I do at this particular phase, but I would get stuck and it would be really frustrating. Here with Fiveable, we hope that we are going to be like a Twitch of education, that if you get stuck, all you need to do is come to us and we can help you. So that's really what the goal is here. So hopefully, that's what you'll kind of see there. So hello, how you doing, Bethina? All right, excellent. So we're going to be going into all of these things. Here's a little bit about me. I don't want to take up too much time here, but my full name is Patrick DiFilippo, and @DiFilippoAPush on Twitter. I'm in my 20th year here at Oak Lawn, which is in a southwest suburb of Chicago. I teach students with a variety of backgrounds. I'm in my 17th year either teaching APUSH or honors. Before we had APUSH, we had an honors U.S. history class. I have my bachelor's from Western Illinois University. When I looked at my analytics, I saw somebody from Macomb It shows me a little dot where Macomb is. I don't know who's from Macomb there. I have not been back, probably about 15 years, so things have changed a lot. But I absolutely love that town and love the school. Majored in history, minor in English. I can teach everything in both social studies and everything in English in the state of Illinois. I got a master's then at Benedictine University, and because originally there I did not have history education, just straight history there. So I went back, and that allowed me to be able to teach. And I also have a Type 75 from Governor State University, which would allow me to go into administration, things like that, which maybe later on in life I will check out. I definitely believe in high standards. I'm also the journalism team head coach, the yearbook advisor, and the video club sponsor, so I'm pretty busy. Yeah, that's it. So we'll go into some more things here. That's just about me there. Those are some of the schools I went to. And so you can see those things here. All right, we have learning targets, right? That's a huge thing always, right? You got to have your learning targets there, always important. And everything look okay, by the way? I haven't even checked that. Everything looking okay? You can see me okay? You can hear me? Okay. All right, thank you. All right, excellent. Good. And so in terms of it, we're going to talk a lot about industrial capital, and we're going to take a look at labor in this time. Excellent. And we're going to talk about technological advances, and we're going to talk about all the socioeconomic effects here during this time. So those are going to be our learning targets, a lot of topic 6 there, or period 6. If you take a look at this here, these are all the things we're going to be covering here. We're going to take a look at the factors. We're going to take a look at the railroad. We're going to take a look at steel, oil industry. We're going to take a look at capitalism, the effects there. We're going to take a look at all these new technology, labor issues, reform, popular culture, all those things in here. So that's just kind of a preview of what's coming. So, you know, kind of think of some of your favorite shows, and they show you a little preview, and you know, here's what's coming up. And yeah, it's kind of like that. All right. So next one here, we are going to go into, first we have a little quote here first. I love this quote here. And like I said, we are going to have some Chicago stuff in here. And Daniel Burnham, who's kind of considered one of the creators of Chicago, he said, "Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood." Okay, I love that quote. And, you know, it's really this time period. This time period wasn't about little plans. It was about big skyscrapers. It was about, you know, bigger than life things, big projects, bridges, Brooklyn Bridge, things like that. So they didn't make any small plans during this time. Everything's about big plans at this time here. So I think that that's a good one here for us here. All right. Now, we always want to kind of, you know, take a little time, get ready for, you know, kind of the test and what could be in here. So let's get a little interactive here. Got a little bell ringer to kind of start us off here. Let's kind of do a little hippo here as much as we can with your ideas here. So we're looking at this one here. Yes, I'm going to try to put the slides there in a second. When I tried to add them, it was not working. So we'll see what we can do about that. The whole thing will be eventually available for replay there. So I'll see what I can do about that, okay? Taking a look here at the picture, okay? You can see here, what do you see here? Like, what's the context? What's this picture referring to? Who are the people there on top here? What is this kind of, you know, what's going on here? Okay, Omar, nice. Okay, you can see these people up here, right up at the top here. These people up there. Okay, they are the big business, the industrialists, right? All right, Angelina, nice. The lower class there is carrying them, right? Have you ever heard like, you know, oh, you're breaking my back here, I'm carrying you, that kind of thing. And so these men are carrying these rich industrialists. Okay, excellent. So that's a nice little warm up here. Let's see, Ashley. see a lot of labor workers, factory workers. Good, good. Okay, and you can see that they're really holding up this economy is what they're trying to say, that this economy is built on their hard work. And that these rich industrialists, if you can look closer here, you'll see that Vanderbilt's in there, and you'll see Fields. That's Marshall Fields, one of the first department stores, high end. For those of you on the East Coast, Macy's. Here, Macy's bought out Marshall Field. So that was a very controversial thing probably 10, 12 years ago. People in Chicago felt that they lost a little bit of their identity when Marshall Field disappeared. All right, so some of the perspective here, again, you said a lot of these things, you guys were all right on, everybody was right on, all of you. You had the robber baron perspective, you have the workers holding up things, you have the industrialists, you have the immigrants, other things to keep in mind, low wages, dangerous work conditions, all of those things, right? Okay, excellent. All right, so all of those things were part of it. All right, that was just kind of, when you'd walk into your room there, you get a little bell ringer here. All right. You know what, before I get to this one, I'm going to go back here. Let's see who's taken economics or anything here. Anybody take economics? I kind of showed it real quick. Hopefully you didn't see it. Anybody know the 4 factors of production? 4 factors of production. What gives you everything you need for industrialization? I showed it real quick there, and then I came back. Oh, nice. Eduardo, right on. All right, very good. Okay, Omar, only missing one. Okay, and money in general there, that's got to be, what we think of as, as capital. All right, which is money to make what? Money. All right, let's take a look here at our next one here. I'll show it here. I kind of gave a quick little preview here. All right, so here are the things that you need to be an industrial power, the factors for production. All right, so number 1, land. Okay, is the United States blessed with very good land? It is. Okay, we had coal, iron ore, copper, lead, timber, oil, all of those things. So all of those things going to help with the industrialization of this country? You bet. Labor, okay, labor, large labor pool, mostly new immigrants, women, children, in part, also part of the workforce there. New technologies coming in, capital. Capital is not just money. Capital is money to make money. Capital is not like, food to feed the family. Capital is that money you want working for you. Ideally in life, you want a job, and you also want your money to have a job. And then both of those things ideally will be working for you. Okay, you'll be working and your money will be working in an ideal world. All right, plenty of investors in the stock market and other exchanges, created large railroad networks, large transportation. Okay, you want your money working. These people wanted their money working for them and making money. And then you do need entrepreneurs, right? We talked about all those, how those, fat cats, how those industrialists, right? How they're kind of sitting on top there, kind of on top of the pyramid, on top of the economy there. But you do need talented people to take risks. You need that. You need financial risks. You need people like Thomas Edison to try, you ever see the movie National Treasure? National Treasure, it says 200 times it took Thomas Edison to make the light bulb. I read another article that said 10,000 times. Could you imagine failing at something 10,000 times until you finally get it? Okay, so adjustments, and then finally getting there. So you need entrepreneurs. You need the Rockefellers, the JP Morgans, the Carnegies, the people, Carnegie is probably the proper Scottish way to say it. But you need people to take those chances. Who would be some of our entrepreneurs today? Give me the last, say, 20 years. Okay, Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, okay, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, very good, Zuckerberg. All of these people, in some kind of an accent, like Zuckerberg, if you've ever seen, now I can't tell you everything's correct in the social network, but kind of seems a little bit like on accident. Steve Jobs, he worked hard to get that personal computer out. Bill Gates with Windows and the early days. Elon Musk, tons of different companies, right? He's got, he has SpaceX. He has, Elon Musk has obviously Tesla, Boring Company, which I think is such a weird name. High speed rail is not boring. I don't know where they came up with that name. I think that's exciting stuff. But so we do have some of these people who do that. Now, do they take advantage of people? Are there things? Is Zuckerberg selling people's information? Probably at times, right? And there's maybe he's not directly, but they have talked about how secure some of these things are. Amazon, what does that do for the malls and stuff like that? I don't know about where other people live, but a lot of malls and things like that have disappeared. So a lot of retail jobs have gone bye-bye. But as Amazon also created thousands of jobs, of course. So there are some trade-offs there, right? All right, now. All right, so I tried to also put in, I don't know how many people have heard of Webb's DOK, depth of knowledge. I tried to ask you some questions and kind of changed the depth of knowledge a little bit. According to Webb's DOK, kind of similar to some of the other multiple intelligences and some of the other things out there. But according to Webb, there are 4 levels of questions. So this is like a level 2. What inference can be, what inference can you make about the role of the government played, poorly written, in the rise of the industrialization in the United States? I kind of rewrote it a couple times. But kind of tell me there, what was the role of government? I like Ashley's answer there, Omar there. Oh, Omar, nice. Okay, so I would say laissez-faire, when we're talking about that let it alone, that laid back, right? Let it alone, let business grow. There are elements of that. Angelina, definitely. Okay, the idea of giving land grants, companies, businesses went hand in hand. Government, really sided with business most of the time. Okay, so all of those things, excellent, nice job. All right, so just kind of wanted to see what you knew, and here's a couple of sad jokes here. But a couple of them came from some of my students there. So they're just kind of like dad jokes, and they're kind of good, but also kind of cheesy. What's the difference between a teacher and a train? Okay, the teacher tells you to spit out your gum, right? And the train says chew, 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 right? And then another one there. Why are railroad tracks always angry? Because people are always crossing them. Like that. All right, so that's a couple dad jokes. I am a dad. I have 4 kids, so there was a couple dad jokes there, and so I like cheesy jokes, and so it works there. All right, railroad business. Let's go. Huge jump in the train business. I mean, we're talking going across here. So these land subsidies, all these things, very important here. Again, we talked about the United States having everything going for it. We had all the potential in the world there with the amount of coal and steel and all these things that were available. So eventually we're going to get a transcontinental railroad, actually 4 transcontinental railroads that are going to go across the United States. There's going to be construction, big jobs. We're going to have a lot of people making a lot of money with it. People like Vanderbilt, J.P. Morgan, Carnegie selling the steel to these train companies. So we're going to have a lot of it. And anytime you have a lot of money, you also have the potential for somewhat in terms of politics. We know we're in the Gilded Age, right? What do we have? Control, bribes, nice, okay? Problems, corruption, all of those things. The biggest scandal of this time is the credit mobilier scandal, okay? And what eventually happened is when Congress found out about it and some people were, kind of taking a look at some of these profits and what they were doing, what this train company was doing, they started handing out bribes to Congress. So it started becoming a very big scandal at the time. Again, it hurts the railroad reputation here. And if a company treated you bad, they would call it railroading. So if somebody kind of ripped you off or, you felt they were treating you poorly or not listening to you, railroading. So named after them. There are some companies that are unpopular. I don't want to name any of them today, but many of those companies get that same feeling. All right, my students know some of my issues with some companies there. All right, we have Kanye here. I'm going to explain why Kanye has come here. You're thinking, come on, Kanye wasn't alive back then, was he? Nope, he was not. We're going to take a look at it here. All right, the steel industry. I love this picture there in the lower right-hand corner. How comfortable they are, right, Omar? How comfortable they are just hanging out there, eating their lunch, right, on a beam, some 60 stories up. And just chilling up there, right? And so we kind of have a second industrial revolution here, right? Steel, petroleum, electric power, machinery. People like Carnegie, that's really the right way to say Carnegie. I know it sounds funny, but poor immigrant to giant steel magnate. We have new technologies, vertical integration. Let's explain that here. Okay, vertical integration is owning all the resources from the raw materials all the way up to the finished product. Okay, and so Buthina and Omar, those are a couple of my students there, and they know what I'm talking about when I put on Kanye up there. So a couple months ago, Kanye was talking about his master plan for Yeezys. Am I saying that right? Yeezys, right? And what he wants to do is actually build a giant factory in, I believe he said, Wyoming. But he wants to grow everything there that he's going to use to make the products, to make his $400 sweatpants and stuff like that. And so he wants to be able to grow everything there. And then he's going to have low transportation costs and everything's going to be there. What is he trying to be? He is trying to be a Carnegie, really. And but what we kind of think about some of these processes are that they're a little monopolistic, right? And in America, we want free markets and people that have competition. Controlling all those things wind up bordering on the idea of monopoly, right? This country doesn't readily break up monopolies, but there have been monopolies broken up. And we're going to get to one of those monopolies that is broken up soon. But really, in terms of Carnegie, his big company, U.S. Steel, lots of different people work there. In terms of new immigrants, that was often a place of Italians would go when they came over. So that was pretty common. Again, that was what my grandfather did and a lot of other Italians. And so they did that, often worked in the steel mill. Why? You could get paid a good wage. Was it dangerous work? Of course. And you could get paid a good wage, though, and support a family if you didn't have a lot of education or quote-unquote skills. Okay, oil industry, right? Oil industry here. Okay, we have Rockefeller. So Carnegie, vertical, all the up and down, all the means of production, basically. And then we have the oil industry here. This is, putting their arms across here, right? And so just looking at, every time that they would talk about Rockefeller and his Standard Oil, they would almost always use some kind of octopus because their hands were in everything here. So Rockefeller winds up using horizontal integration. Eventually, he and friends and people, his associates, controlled about 90% of the U.S. oil. Okay, huge impact. And he creates these giant trusts, and they serve on all these boards. Okay, and what's the worry? That they can do price fixing and a whole bunch of other unscrupulous business practices. So eventually, there's some books that talk about it, and eventually Standard Oil will be broken up. Many of the gas stations that you see today, many of them, and oil companies come from there. One of the things is much like the telephone company. Did you know the telephone company? When I was a kid, there was only one telephone company. It was called Ma Bell. Did you know that? And there was, Alexander Graham Bell, and there was one company. And many of those companies have started to consolidate. Anybody know 2 cell phone companies that are consolidating right now? T-Mobile and Sprint. Good. Okay. Metro PCS. I don't know who Metro PCS is owned by, but so many of those smaller companies, it is T-Mobile. So many of those smaller companies are just like Boost is actually Sprint and stuff like that. That stuff is they just play around with this is the contract, this is the no contract, all that stuff. So really by the time this gets done, there's really going to be 3 companies. There's going to be Verizon, there's going to be AT&T, and then this T-Mobile Sprint, and then pretty much everybody else controlled by them. So is that a good thing? They would say, yes, we get to share all this technology and things like that. But then other people would say, what about competition and things? So, all right. So we have the let it alone, okay? Let it alone capitalism, okay? And when we have that laissez-faire, okay, what that is about government regulations, very little government regulations, okay? Let businesses compete, and that keeps prices down. If you think about it right now, right, like some of our streaming, right? How many of you have cut cable and you just have kind of like Netflix and stuff like that? That's a lot of people have done that. Yeah, I have done that. I got so sick of the cable bill, but I still need to have like YouTube TV so I can watch sports and stuff like that, news and stuff like that. So, but a lot of people have done that over time, and you got sick of the Netflix. Netflix is what is the if you have a couple now, I think it's $11.99 now. But yeah, I can see that. What $16.99 is the highest. 14. All right. I know one of my kids, one of my daughters. $7.99 is the lowest. That's what we had, and then we upgraded. I didn't upgrade, so I think they did. Disney Plus, okay. So why did Disney Plus come in at $6.99? Okay, that's a great point there. Disney Plus came in because they wanted to make a splash, right? And they wanted to make sure that people who had Netflix might still get them. So they came in at a pretty low price there. Do they make Netflix nervous? I'm sure they do. I'm sure the Netflix executives that it scares them. All right, so that is a great example. What you're doing there is competition, right? Competition, and that's what they would say in the old days, okay? And the fittest company would win, right? And they were using Charles Darwin's ideas, okay? But people like Carnegie, people like that believe that also they're supposed to do good as well. Can you give examples of some possible, definitely, some possible period 6 LEQ prompts. Good, okay. All right, remind me of that, okay? We're gonna, is that Ava, right? Is that how you say it? Or Okay, good. All right, Ava, remind me, okay, some DBQs. I'll go through a couple things here. I'll just give you, we'll just kind of, here's AMSCO. I'll give you some things that have been used in the past, and we'll just kind of talk about it real quick on that one. All right, so we'll definitely go there. So don't let me forget that, okay? All right, let's continue on here. Yeah, AMSCO is pretty good there. They have a lot of good stuff in there. Oh, I forgot to talk about the last part I wanted to talk about. So you become rich, right? You become wealthy. Are you supposed to just keep it? Are you supposed to be like, all the money's for me? No, they believed that it was your God-given responsibility to practice philanthropy, that you were supposed to do good. I put 3 things in Chicago on here. Again, just because we're in this area here, and when I see these examples here, it's easy for me to think of. So we have, anybody know what this university is? Started by Rockefeller. It's here on the south side of Chicago. Not far from here, probably about 20 minutes. Okay, one of the elite universities in the United States. That's, okay, not UIC, Bailey. That is UIC is a good school. University of Chicago, good. Okay, UIC is a public, public college there, and a good school. Kind of University of Chicago is kind of more up there. I think if you ask them, they would probably say they're up there with the Ivy Leagues and the Johns Hopkins and some of the other the Dukes of the world and stuff like that. So that was one all founded by Rockefeller. He felt he was doing something good for education there. Okay, this one here is the Field Museum. Marshall Field built that. It's a history museum, a natural history museum. Educate the people again, provide culture for people. Okay, oh, best museum. I think it's a great museum as well. Love going to that one there. And then below there, the Shedd Aquarium. Love the Shedd Aquarium. That is my favorite. Like, if I get a family pass, that's my favorite pass. You know why? It is very pretty. The reason why is because there's always huge lines, and if you have a pass, you can just walk right in. And I feel like really cool when I'm doing it. So one of the few times, when I feel, I'm like, I can just go right to the front of the line. So, but a very cool place there, beluga whales, all kinds of stuff there right on the lakefront. Very beautiful. So I use these things because these are all wealthy people who wanted to give back to their town. You should see, like, there's a cemetery where they're all buried, and they have the biggest mausoleums too, like nicer than most people's homes. They have better homes and they're dead than most people have homes. So anyways, so a lot of these people from a long time ago, they wanted to do this, what you call gospel of wealth. That's how they would justify it. And then they, they believed that they had to do good with their money. Okay, but they wouldn't apologize. They wouldn't apologize for making money. Okay, new technologies. Look at all this here. We have so much here. Technologies, innovations. You got the telegraph. You have telephones. You have typewriters, cash registers. You have the lamp, the light bulb, the electric generators, motion pictures. You have companies like Westinghouse with 400 patents. You have Marshall Field in Chicago. Anybody like shopping out there? Anybody? Oh, yeah? Nope. Ashley, nope. Jasmine, yep. Online. Okay. And so if you said yes, it was part of the plan. It was part of the plan. Hi, Tafe. And Izzy and Angeline, it was part of the plan. Anna, it was part of the plan. These wealthy people tried to make shopping something that was an experience, right? And then if you could go with friends, right? It was invented to be a hobby. There's kind of no other way to say it. There really weren't many places in this country that women, right, that women could go, that without their father and stuff like that. So this is a place that they could go. Okay. And it is about capitalism too. Yeah. People like Marshall Field said, hey, I bet you they have some expendable income, right? And right, that was, a big part of it. They capitalism, and they wanted to make that money. If a woman just was walking down the street, people would worry back then about what, same ideology as Starbucks and Target, you bet. Okay, right? That's, not that Target isn't expensive enough, but now all of a sudden you got to, get a $6 or $7 coffee too, right? But, that is what they do. That is, you don't have to buy it, right? You don't have to buy it. I don't buy it. Starbucks will make no money. You know what, Omar? I actually like, we have some free coffee in the morning, right? Very good. And, some of these teachers say, oh, I can't drink that. It doesn't taste just fine to me. All right. Okay. Is it really this? Yes. You could call it kind of the second industrial revolution. What people normally call this time period, kind of answering Ava's question here, right? Before the Civil War, they always call it the market revolution or the commercial revolution. Okay. And Meg, I like to buy coffee for my kitchen. Nice. Okay. $6 for a coffee, $5 for a coffee. That's a lot of money. Anyways, going back to this, before the Civil War, they kind of call it the market revolution or the commercial revolution. Kind of afterwards, you can kind of call it the second industrial revolution if you want to separate it from Europe's industrial revolution. That's fine. However you want to think about it, as long as you explain what this industrial era is, I don't think you'll have a problem in terms of with the readers and stuff like that. Okay, awesome. Okay, all great input here. Okay, I love talking to you guys here. All right. So what are some of the positives and negatives of industrialization? Okay, so I think it was Ava earlier, right? Wanted some test questions. This is something I've kind of seen in some ways. I reworded it, so there's no copyright violations on short answer. Okay, so short answer. So basically list, kind of one positive, one negative. So give me a negative. Horrible conditions of factory workers, right? Poor working conditions, nice. Not nice, poor working conditions, but nice answers. Corruption, overcrowding, long work hours, okay? Pollution, all right. Those are some negatives. What are some positives? New technology, okay? Work better, growing middle class. Do we have more things or less things once industrialization? Better opportunities for more, okay? Industrialization, right? When you're in grade school, all you get is that industrialization. You would think it's, it's all bad, right? But would many countries love to be industrialized? There's a great video if you have time on YouTube. If you have some time there, it's from ABC. It's about 5 or 6 years ago from China. And it explains how, why Chinese workers will stand in line for several hours to get paid $2 an hour for Apple, okay, to work at a big company called Foxconn. And why? And then they show their home and where they came from there. There's very little job opportunities in anything. Okay, Angelina, you watched it. Very interesting. Watch that YouTube. Angelina, did you understand why they would wait in line and how industrialization versus, no industrialization, even if they're in cramped quarters, that they'd still rather have it, right? Have some jackets, have some, those things here. Yes. Okay, that is a fun fact, Bailey. Okay, and that is right. That they, now hold on a second, Bailey, on that one. Is that a new concept? Lathina, nice. No. Okay, Lowell, Massachusetts, good. Had that. Here in Chicago, Pullman, George Pullman. So there are a lot of different, that concept there that you live, in a corporation house and you pay rent and all those things. All right. And your Chinese teacher showed us a recent documentary. Okay. So yeah, a lot of stuff out there. So it's really not a completely new concept. George Pullman on the south side of Chicago, he started one. That's Pullman rail cars, fancy cars. He wanted his workers to live in like, almost a utopia of sorts. And but that utopia fell apart when he cut their wages but didn't cut their rent. And that's when his reputation really went. So we'll talk about some of that stuff later. Good job on that. Excellent. Downsides of, the downside of industrialization. You guys have so much here. Hands in the few. Richest 10% controlled 90% of the wealth. Anybody know what that is today? Right? You hear Bernie and other people talk about, the one percenters, right? Okay, top 1%. You hear that? Today, the top 10%, and I looked it up this morning, the top 10% control 70% of the wealth in the United States of America. So it actually is less than back then. So what does that mean? That is good, right? Yeah, Omar says that good, right? Yeah, that is. That's the right direction. What should it be? That's a difficult one. Like there was an article a couple years ago, how the Walmart grandchildren, so Sam Walton, I believe, right? That's his name, right? And his grandchildren have more money than 40% of the United States. And then I thought about it, right? So this was kind of maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, maybe even kind of still coming out of the Great Recession, okay? And I started thinking about it, and I said, well, out of that 40%, are probably about 20% of them in heavy debt? Probably, right? So if you had a quarter, that's higher than nothing, right? So you could probably say if you don't have any debt and you have $1, you might be richer than 10% of the population. Something like that. So just food for thought, right? But so Omar, is that better? That is definitely better, right? Nobody wants the control of all the money. Well, I guess if you're rich, you want all the control in the hands of the few, if you're one of those few. But what would be I don't have a number, that idea of why we need communism. There are people who do like communism. Unfortunately, unfortunately, what tends to happen is the money still remains in the few. Just the few often winds up being the government. All right. Now, please conclude who would like tariffs. There was a little bit about protectionism in there. Who would like tariffs? Okay. Manufacturing, big business corporations, okay? CEOs, okay? A lot of them, right? Because it would be less competition, right? Less competition. The industrialists would like that. Nice. Maybe the workers, depending if they felt like their job would be more secure. All right. Speaking of workers, let's go to labor issues, right? Labor issues. So we talked about the horrible working conditions, things like that. So the labor unions start to grow, right? And so there's a whole bunch of labor movements here going on here. So they want to protect themselves. By themselves, they have very little power in terms of governments here. Let's say, okay. So at what time are we discussing? Excellent. We are in the 1880s, 1890s. Okay, that's where we are here. So you got all these unskilled workers, all these different people, and they're starting to organize here. A lot of them felt like they had nothing, that they had, that they were like the serfs of the old Middle Ages. And so they felt like if they could join these unions. Now, some of you talked about communism, right? And we talk about, what they are seen as, a lot of people saw them as socialists, and some were socialists. Eugene Debs people like that, they were socialists. And they believed that the government should own the businesses and that they should nationalize them, and that, that capitalism was evil. That's what many of them felt. And but other people felt, hey, you're bringing over ideas from Germany, you're bringing over ideas from Eastern Europe that aren't so much Western civilization ideas, I guess they would say. So there was a lot of suspicion towards a lot of these new people from Eastern and Southern Europe here. And sometimes to break a strike, they would bring in what they, what the union people would call scabs, strike breakers. Okay, and that is how. Now, normally, would government be on the side of business in these or labor? Who did they normally side with? Business. Very good. Okay, and they normally did. How about the courts? Who did they side with? Business. Good. All right, so labor issues. You're going to have to take a look. You could do a whole, I didn't do a lot with labor here. Just wanted to give you a little idea why they're organizing, the poor working conditions, 6 days a week, several hours. They want to start getting rid of things like child labor, and other things become issues that people start to want, to get rid of. All right, now we're on urbanization here. Okay, so we are now on urbanization, and America's population is really increasing. We have new immigrants coming in. We have New York City is the second largest city in the world. We have skyscrapers. Chicago is the leader of the skyscraper movement in the beginning there. What has to come around for skyscrapers? Two things need to come around. Two things. Give me those two things. Okay, three things. Four things. Thank you, Ashley. Four things. I keep adding to mine. All right, five things. Thank you, Bailey. Six. Okay, so what we have here, what I was looking for, is that you need elevators, you need that technology, and you need electricity, right? And so those are a couple of things that made building things. And cranes, oh, you definitely need cranes. You need steel, right? You need labor. You need workers, right? Here's a worker there. These are dangerous jobs. I forgot how many people I read died when the original Twin Towers came up, but there were several of them who died. And it doesn't take much, right? You one slip there, and that's it here. Buthina, don't all cities surround masses of water? Okay, water was more important before the invention of what? Water more important. Very good. Okay, because where did you get power from? Hydroelectric power. Same thing with factories and everything. So you would have to put it on a river. So now I was trying to think here, Bethina, of cities that don't have a lot of water. Indianapolis, relatively big city. Nobody talks about the water of Indianapolis, right? Lansing, is that Lansing, Michigan? What Lansing is that? Angelina? Just give me the state one here. Okay, Lansing, Michigan, right? What, about 500,000 people, something like that, I believe, Angelina. Michigan State, okay, Spartans. Okay, we're the Oak Lawn Spartans. And yeah, cities like that. Lansing, I think there's a river that goes through it. It might even be the Lansing River, I'm not positive. But, nothing too huge. So Buthina, definitely in the early stages, obviously transportation, everything like that. But, not always on water. So we have department stores, we have Brooklyn Bridge, sanitation is a big problem, sewage issues, unequal treatment of women, overcrowding, public education needs to be reformed, lack of public education, all those things, are things that, were challenges here in the new urban society here. Immigration, people coming from Southern and Eastern Europe here, cheap labor, family, friends already in the U.S., why they would come here. They start to lose their they often start to lose their heritage. Anybody who doesn't come, ethnic enclaves, that's where you're going to get Chinatowns, and you're going to get Greek Town and Little Italies and stuff like that, all come from the new immigration here. Those new immigrants were fleeing their own countries for lots of reasons here. Sometimes it was, rough governments, tough governments. Sometimes there was religious reasons, things like that. Okay, I'm trying to speed up just a little bit here so that we can talk about the reforms and some potential questions, because Ava asked for questions. Okay, Ava, you're still there, right? Hopefully you're still there, Ava, because I promised you some questions there. Okay, good. All right, so reform movements. So we have a whole bunch of reform movements coming up, right? So we have often churches tried to help people assimilate. That was a big part, assimilation, kind of getting ready, right? Jane Addams would help with her Hull House. You had revivalists, Moody. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Moody Bible Institute. You have the YMCA. All of those things were helping new immigrants. Religion was big during, definitely, Omar. Catholic churches would open up schools all over the place. Part of it was the assimilating and assimilation. We also have big issues here. This is a new modern world, and modernism sometimes rejects religion. So we have some fights there between the ideas of the creationists who believe that God created the earth in 7 days, and other people who believe in Darwin and the theory of evolution. Okay, we're going to be talking about a trial here coming up here in the 1900s, the Monkey Scopes trial, which we're going to take a look at later on. So the Scopes trial, we'll be taking a look at that. All right, and so those are just some. The YMCA, everybody's heard of that, right? YMCA, right? Plessy versus Ferguson, excellent, Ava. So talk about Plessy versus Ferguson here. Okay, I have a little thing on, we're going to come there in 1 second, okay? I want to talk about African-American rights. I have a whole giant slide all about that here. Here we go. All right, so reforms here. So I wanted to make sure that we're talking about the reforms here. So let's take a look here. Public education. Here are some names you need to know. You need to know Horace Mann. You need to know Dewey of the Dewey Decimal System. You need to know local government started caring about public education. So you're in school today. How many people have public schools? Most of you have public schools. If you're at public schools, you are here because you had people like Horace Mann and Dewey think that it was a good idea. Who went to school before? The sons and daughters of who? The rich. That was it. Okay. And increased high schools and literacy in Europe. If you were from a small town, maybe they had like a little elementary school, but that was it. Okay. Now let's talk about African-American rights. Somebody, Ava, put in Plessy versus Ferguson. Very important. Now Plessy versus Ferguson really hurts the rights, right, of African Americans, and people are going to be fighting against this. So we're going to really have our beginning of our civil rights movement to go against Plessy versus Ferguson and other similar laws, right? What does Plessy versus Ferguson say? Separate but equal. All right, nice job, Meg, Omar. I'm sure everybody else knew that too, right? Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, right? And let state institutions segregate, right? So basically said Jim Crow was what? Fine. Okay, so what we're going to have is we are going to have people fighting against this here. Okay, people like W.E.B. Du Bois. He is going to fight against that when he creates the NAACP. He is going to be looking for equality for African Americans. You have Booker T. Washington who believed that the first thing was get economic independence, support Black-owned businesses and things like that. I'm sure that many of you have heard that even talked about today in some areas here, that they have to revitalize some urban areas that maybe the businesses have left, right? When you go through, have you ever heard of the idea of a food desert? Anybody ever hear that? Okay. In some lower socioeconomic urban areas, there is no there's no place to get a decent vegetables and things like that. Okay, what they have is often like little convenience shops and things like that where they charge $6 for a gallon of milk and stuff like that. Let's take a look at some other things here. We have colleges and universities going in. Okay, things like medicine becomes a much better career there, and a truly where they start to really know what they're doing there. You have Charlotte Perkins and Elizabeth Cady Stanton encourage women's rights. Carrie A. Nation, the temperance movement against that demon rum. Okay, very good. And then we have popular culture. This is our last slide here. We have a lot of culture going on as people are moving into the cities here. Newspapers take over. You have some really, people like Mark Twain. You have some really people like Victoria Woodhull, who kind of wrote about, kind of getting rid of the traditional marriage and kind of against these, what she thought were, kind of Christian values at that time. So a lot of people went against her, like Anthony Comstock and other ones who thought that her ideas were immoral. We have music, people kind of sitting around listening to music. Thomas Edison, when he gets the phonograph going here, now people can listen to, what would be records. All right, so we have 5 minutes here, okay? And so I want to go through some potential questions here. So people ask for some potential LEQ questions and DBQ questions. So anything on the extent, right? So what extent could you call the industrial leaders robber barons or captains of industry? Is that a good question? Okay. And then you would have to defend your ideas there, right? That would be a good one. Anything where you have to compare and contrast the roles of government during a certain time. How did government help businesses? What were the goals of labor unions like the National Labor Union, the Knights of Labor? Those are good questions here, okay, for that. So those are some of the ones here. I'm going through just a couple old books here. Okay, because I didn't quite have that ready here in terms of some good questions here. So other things here. So we definitely politics. What were the politics of this age here? We didn't even go into machine politics or anything like that. I'm just kind of going through some ideas here that would kind of help me think about some review here. Compare the objectives and strategies for labor unions. Compare and contrast, again, we talked about that, the government, what role they had. Transportation, explain the impact of transportation on the United States. When it goes into groups here, they might take two of the following, maybe Native Americans, maybe African Americans, maybe women. Should we know their impact during this time? Definitely. And the impact of industrialization and urbanization on them. Gospel of wealth. Analyze the effects of the gospel of wealth. That's a great question. I'm just looking at some old questions here. And then, of course, that robber barons one and things like that versus captains of industry. All right. How'd we do today? Okay. You think you think you've gotten plenty of things here. Machine politics. I saw some politics there. Transportation. Yeah, good. All right, Ava, you feel good about some of those questions? So I would just think of the big concepts. I would think politics, corruption. What are some questions that could come out of there? Transportation. What are some new means? Railroad. What were the effects of that? I would look into what are the effects of industrialization on certain groups, maybe immigrant groups, maybe African Americans, etc. Okay, and then you have an LEQ tomorrow. Okay, so robber barons could definitely be there. all those things. I wish I could find out. Nativism versus new immigrants. That's the good one too, right? The know nothing. That's a good potential question, right? The know nothing party, things like that. All right. Hey, good talking to all of you here. I really enjoyed it. Loved the questions. Loved everything. Could you make sure you fill out your polls there? I asked a couple of questions there. Jasmine, thank you. Ava, thank you. Angelina, thank you. All of you, Izzy, all the people in my class, thank you. I appreciate you coming on there, Meg. And if you ever have any questions, you could always probably shoot me a question on that @DFilippo APUSH there, and I will definitely answer it there. So you can @me, Go 49ers. Ava, are you from California? I did see some California people. That's the one group there that Fiveable, we don't know how to reach them always. No, okay, but you like Nick Bosa. Oh, he's kind of a beast there. So he is a real good player there. Meg, you're from California. Okay, make sure you share Fiveable with people. You know, make sure you share the information there. That's one area that, you know, we tend to get more East Coast here. But I think our U.S. history is starting pretty late here. Ava, you're from Texas here. Angelina from Michigan. Let's see. How do you say that? Is it a dog or a doge, or how do you say that? I don't know if you can phonetically tell me. I've never seen that name. A doge, a dog. I'm not sure. And then is that Phobos? Phobos? Bailey, you're from Illinois, okay. So you probably were familiar with that. That's why you love the Field Museum there. Arthi there, California. Anna there, the Chiefs there. Oh, it has been since their last Super Bowl. They were in the first two. Haven't been back. Everybody just tends to cram for the AP exams. Yeah, Mahomes is great. He is. You know, a lot of people were afraid to pick him. The Bears, I'm a Bears fan here, and they very stupidly did not pick Mahomes and a couple years ago. So unfortunately, Mahomes went much later here. Yeah, Jimmy G too. You're right there. He's from here. He's from the northwest suburbs. He's from like Mount Prospect or Palatine or one of those ones. So, all right. Well, everybody enjoy the Super Bowl here. Enjoy. Hopefully you'll do well on your test tomorrow. My class, we're going to probably take the first part by Friday next week. All right. Hey, great talking to all of you and loved it. Okay. Good luck. If you ever have any questions, you can @me at Twitter there at my @DFilippo APUSH. And if you have the Fiveable account there, you'll be able to replay this whenever you want. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. Good night, everybody. Good night.